I'm 36 now, living in Austin, Texas, and my name's Ryan. People say I'm successful, good job in tech, nice condo, even a dog who listens better than most people I've known. But if you'd met me when I was 11, you wouldn't have guessed any of this. When I tell people my parents left me in a foster home to get on their feet, they blink like I just said I was raised by wolves. But that's what happened. They dropped me off in Oakland, California, at some drab group home with 4 other boys and said it was temporary. They were chasing a dream. So they'd call. So they'd write. So they'd come back. They never did. The first week, I waited by the payphone like some idiot extra in a sad movie. Every day, I thought today's the day. They're gonna call. They're gonna say it was a mistake. That they're sorry. That call never came. Not once. You learn not to expect much from people after that. You learn that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who teach you how to live without them. I got shuffled through 2 homes before I landed with the Garzas in Modesto. They weren't perfect, but they didn't leave. That was enough. And now, 25 years later, I get a message on LinkedIn of all places from my mom. That's where it all starts again. The message was short. Just a hi, Ryan. I hope you're doing well. I'd love to reconnect if you're open to it. No apology. No explanation. Just a smiley face at the end like we were old college friends who lost touch after graduation. I must have read it 10 times before closing the tab. My hands were sweating, not because I was scared, but because I wasn't ready to feel anything. And that's exactly what hit me. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel joy. I didn't even feel curiosity. I felt nothing, which scared me more than if I'd punched a hole in the wall. The last time I saw her, she was promising me this was temporary. I remember the way she hugged my sister, kissed her on the cheek, then looked at me like I was cargo that didn't quite fit in the car anymore. They drove away with 2 suitcases and a map. I watched their taillights disappear like it was normal. Now she wanted to reconnect, so I did what anyone would do in 2023. I Googled her, and what I found knocked the air out of me. Her name popped up instantly. I barely had to type it. Right there at the top of the page, Facebook, Instagram, some random travel blog. I clicked the blog first. The header hit me like a punch. Wander with us. A family's journey around the world. There they were, my parents, all smiles in front of the Eiffel Tower, riding camels in Morocco, holding hands at some waterfall in Costa Rica. And my sister, still wearing that same smug little smirk she had the day they left me behind. Page after page, year after year. Thailand, Peru, Italy. They were living it up, traveling, blogging, taking pictures of avocado toast, and writing long posts about finding themselves through experience. My sister had even written a post titled "The Joy of Living Without Regret." I almost laughed at that one. There was one photo that stopped me cold. It was from 5 years ago. A Christmas shot. They were in front of a fire, wearing matching pajamas. The caption read, "Missing our boy this year. Wherever you are, we hope you're thriving." Wherever I am. They left me. They knew where I was. I wasn't kidnapped. I didn't disappear into the wilderness. I was in a system they signed me into. My last name hadn't changed. I'd stayed in the same damn school district for 3 years. I didn't go anywhere. They just never looked. And now they wanted to frame it like I had vanished in a thin air, like I was the one who'd abandoned them. That photo messed with my head in a way I wasn't ready for. I shut the laptop and stared at my own reflection in the black screen. I hadn't cried in years. Not even when I got accepted into college on a full scholarship. Not even when I got promoted to lead dev at the startup. Not even when I bought my condo outright. But that moment, seeing them living the life they always wanted while pretending I never existed, that cracked something open. They made it look like I was a ghost they sometimes thought about. Like I was a sweet memory from a past life. They were rewriting the story, painting themselves as these whimsical nomads who bravely left everything behind, including, apparently, their son, to chase sunsets and self-discovery. I didn't respond to her LinkedIn message. Not right away, but I did keep watching. That's when I noticed something had changed on the blog. A new post, just a couple months old. A tone shift. Less carefree, more anxious. The new blog post was titled "When the Road Runs Out." The tone was different, less poetic, more desperate. My mom wrote it, that much was clear. She always had this overly sentimental way of expressing things, like she was trying to wrap guilt in lace and hand it to you like a gift. In the post, she talked about how they had hit some financial difficulties, that their nomadic journey had come to an unexpected pause. She used words like uncertainty and humbling, and it was clear she wanted readers to sympathize with this brave couple who had given up everything to live authentically. There was a photo of them sitting on a bench in what looked like a cheap motel parking lot somewhere in Nevada. They looked older, worn. My dad, The man who once lectured me about being resilient looked like he hadn't had a good meal in weeks. And my sister, the golden girl, wasn't in any of the new pictures. I kept scrolling. Then I found it. Another post 2 weeks later titled Rebuilding Roots. This time it was shorter. It said they were reaching out to loved ones and reconnecting with people from their past. There was no mention of me by name, but the tone? It was unmistakable. They needed help. That same day, I got a second message. Not from my mom, from my dad. His name I hadn't seen in any inbox in over 2 decades. It was sent to my professional email, the one attached to my LinkedIn. Subject, "Hey son." I didn't open it right away. I just sat there staring at the subject line like it was some kind of trap. And honestly, it was, because the moment I opened it, I couldn't pretend anymore that this was ancient history. It wasn't a closed chapter. It wasn't buried. It had just been sitting in the dark, waiting for a moment like this to rise back up. I opened it. He started with small talk. Said he'd seen my profile. Said I'd done well for myself. Said they were proud of the man I'd become. Then, buried in the middle of the message like it was just another bullet point, he wrote, "We're going through a bit of a rough patch and could really use a hand." There it was. The ask. Not even a real apology. No accountability. Just a vague, rough patch and a request for help from the kid they left behind without looking back. I scrolled to the bottom. His sign-off made me sick. "Love you always, Dad." Love me? Where was that love when I sat on a metal cot in a group home, crying into a pillow that smelled like bleach? Where was it when I aged out of the system and didn't even get a card? Where was it when I graduated high school, college, when I landed my first job? They weren't there. Not for any of it. But now that the adventure had run dry and the ATM was closed, suddenly I mattered again? No, I wasn't going to be their safety net. I wasn't going to be their redemption arc. I clicked reply. I didn't write a novel. I didn't rant. I didn't list out the years of silence, or the birthdays missed, or the holidays I spent alone with a microwave meal because everyone else had somewhere to be and someone to love. I didn't mention how I used to stare at my foster parents' phone, wondering if maybe, just maybe, today would be the day my mom remembered she had another kid. I didn't remind them that I graduated with honors alone, or that when I got promoted last year, the only person I called was my roommate because I didn't know who else would care. I could have said all of that, but I didn't. I wrote 2 sentences. "You made your choice when you left me behind. I'm making mine now." Then I hit send. And for the first time in my life, I felt clean. Like I've been carrying this moldy, rotting weight for 25 years, and someone finally came and sliced it off my back. Not out of kindness, but because I stopped begging them to carry it with me. They never replied. Not my dad. Not my mom. Radio silence. And honestly, I didn't expect them to. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They were reaching out because they needed something. They weren't trying to rebuild. They were trying to cash in. But the thing is, I didn't just survive without them. I built a life they were never part of. A good life. One that wasn't forged out of pity or shared DNA, but by people who actually stayed when things got hard. People like Mr. Talley, my high school math teacher, who used to drive me to college fairs in his beat-up Saturn. Like Denise, my first boss, who gave me a shot when my resume looked like a blank page and my suit was borrowed. Like Marcus, my roommate of 8 years, who's more of a brother than blood ever gave me. That's what family is. Not the ones who share your name. The ones who stay. And as far as I'm concerned, my parents left our family the moment they drove away with my sister and a lie about coming back. Turns out the real goodbye happened a long time ago. They just didn't know it. 2 weeks passed. I thought that was the end of it. I'd said my piece, burned the last thread, and moved on. I stopped checking the blog. Stopped looking at their socials. Whatever storm they were in, it wasn't my weather to worry about. Then came a text. Not from a number I recognized, just a random out-of-state number with no contact info saved. The message said, "Hey, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me either, but I had to try." My heart dropped, because I knew who it was before I even finished reading. My sister, Emma. I hadn't heard from her in years. Not since I was maybe 15, when she sent me a crayon-drawn postcard from Spain. Back then, I kept it under my pillow like it meant something. Like it meant she missed me. Like it meant she'd asked them to come back for me. She didn't. Not then. Not after. And now she was texting like we were long-lost friends reconnecting over coffee. I stared at the message for a while. Didn't respond. A day passed. Then 2. On the 3rd day, another message came. I didn't know Ryan. Not really. Not until recently. Please let me explain. That word, recently, sat wrong with me. She was older now. 28, maybe 29. Old enough to have asked questions. Old enough to have known that her brother didn't just vanish into thin air. Old enough to have wondered why every photo after a certain year was just the three of them. But she didn't wonder. Or if she did, she didn't ask. Still, I was curious. Angry? Yes. But I wanted to hear what lie they told her. So I replied. Explain. She didn't waste time. Her next message came within minutes. They said you chose to stay. That you were better off in school, with friends. That you didn't want to leave. I was 10. I believed them. That one hit different. Because I remember that moment. Standing in the group home hallway. My mom brushing a strand of hair behind Emma's ear, telling her to say goodbye. And I remember not crying in front of her. Not because I wasn't broken, but because I didn't want her to see it. And now I knew. They told her I wanted that life. That I chose to be left. She said she figured it out last year when she tried to pull her birth certificate for a passport renewal and noticed my name listed. Started digging. Found the foster care papers. Found my name in state records. Found me, but didn't reach out. Not then. Not even after that. So I asked her why. Why now? Her answer was longer. Because they're broke, Ryan. And they're angry. And scared. And I'm tired of pretending I don't know the truth. They're not who I thought they were. I wanted to believe they just made mistakes, but I think they chose comfort over you. And I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't know what to do with that. A part of me wanted to lash out. Another part just wanted to put the phone down and walk away forever. But the smallest part, the part that still remembered her laugh when we were kids, and how she'd always save the last cookie for me, that part wanted to believe her. So I asked her one more thing. Are you still with them? And her reply? No, I left 3 months ago. I'm in Portland now. On my own. For the first time. And it's terrifying. But at least it's honest. It was a Thursday when they showed up. I just gotten home from work, still holding my gym bag, keys dangling from one hand, when I noticed the rental car parked crooked in front of my building. Out-of-state plates. Dusty bumper. A piece of tape holding one of the mirrors in place. I knew before I even saw them. I felt in my chest, like something ancient waking up. A mix of dread and fury and disbelief. And there they were. My parents. Standing outside the entryway like they belonged there. My dad in the same windbreaker he used to wear to weekend soccer games. Like he thought nostalgia might soften the blow. My mom with her arms crossed and a strained smile that didn't reach her eyes. I didn't say anything. I just stared. She waved. Like this was normal. Like we were just neighbors bumping into each other at the mailbox after a long winter. I didn't wave back. They didn't have my address. At least, not from me. They must have gotten it from Emma. That stung more than I wanted to admit. I wanted to believe she meant it when she said she was on her own now. That she wasn't part of this. But here they were, standing like bad karma on my doorstep. They didn't try to come in. Not right away. My dad started with this whole performance. Gesturing to the sky, talking about how long the drive was, how tired they were, how much it meant just to see me in person. I didn't respond. My silence didn't stop him. He said they'd been thinking about me a lot. That seeing my face again was like seeing a miracle. My mom finally spoke. Said she didn't expect things to be easy, but hoped I could find a little room in my heart for them again. That line nearly broke me, because I did have room in my heart once. It was wide open when I was 11. It waited. It wondered. It hoped every knock on the group home door was them coming back for me. But now it was full, with people who earned their place there. I told them to leave. Not in anger. Just plain, flat truth. I said this wasn't the time, wasn't the place, and they weren't the people I needed anymore. My dad asked if we could just talk. I said no. He asked if they could at least get a glass of water before the road. I told him there was a gas station a mile down the street. My mom's voice cracked. She said they'd made mistakes, that they were trying. That family was family. And that's when I snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough to finally say what had been burning in me since I was a kid. You're not my family. You're my origin story. I watched those words land. My mom blinked like I'd struck her. My dad looked like he wanted to argue, but didn't know how. The wind blew someone's napkin across the sidewalk. And still I said nothing else. Eventually, they got back in the car. I waited until they pulled away before I went upstairs. My hand was shaking when I locked the door. Not from fear. From the rage I wouldn't let out and the heartbreak I wouldn't show. I sat on the edge of my bed for an hour. Just sat there. And the only thought I had, looping over and over like some broken song, was they really thought showing up would fix it. 2 days after they showed up, I got a voicemail from Emma. Her voice was shaking. Not crying. Emma never cried easy. But there was something in her tone I hadn't heard before. Shame, maybe, or something close to it. She said she didn't know they were coming. That she never gave them my address. That she told them not to contact me again. And then, after a long pause, she added, I lied to you. I've been lying for a long time. That stopped me. I sat on the floor with my back against the kitchen cabinets, phone pressed to my ear like I was 13 again, waiting for someone to say something that made sense. Emma said she'd always known more than she let on. Not everything, but enough. Enough to know they hadn't been telling the truth. Enough to know they didn't try to get me back. That they didn't lose custody. That they chose not to fight for it. She said when she turned 18, she asked our mom what really happened. And Mom told her the truth, or at least her version of it. They had left me because I was too much. Too angry. Too sad. Too complicated. That I reminded them of a part of themselves they didn't want to look at. I wasn't the quiet, camera-ready child they wanted for their wanderlust fantasy. I was the ghost of a life they were desperate to escape. A reminder that their freedom had cost something, and they didn't want to pay twice. Emma said she didn't tell me sooner because she didn't know how. Because every time she started to reach out, she imagined the look I might give her. The disgust. The betrayal. She said it haunted her. She also said something else. Something I still don't know what to do with. That there was money involved. Apparently, when they left, they had a choice. Fight for custody, risk the court costs, risk being forced to settle down, or voluntarily give me up, walk away, and use the money they'd saved for the custody battle to fund their journey. They chose the second option. They bought plane tickets with the money they would have spent on lawyers. And they told themselves it was for the best. For my best. Emma found the receipts. Saw the bank withdrawals. The timing matched. 2 weeks after they signed me over, they were in Rome. She said she's been holding on to that guilt for years. Trying to justify it. Trying to convince herself that maybe, just maybe, they thought they were doing the right thing. But now, she doesn't believe that anymore. She said she doesn't want to be them. That she wants to build something different. That she wants to earn my trust back, even if it takes years. And then she said something I didn't expect. I booked a flight. I want to see you. Not to fix it. Just to show you I'm not them. She flew in on a rainy Sunday. Of course it was raining. It always rains when something matters. I almost didn't go to the airport. I sat in my car outside my building for 20 full minutes, engine running, hands locked on the wheel, asking myself if I was just opening an old wound for no reason. Maybe I was, but some part of me needed to see her face. Not on a screen, not as a voice through my phone. I needed to know if she was real, if she meant it. I pulled into the arrivals lane just as she walked out. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just quieter. She didn't run up to me, didn't wave, just stood there under the awning with her bag at her feet, rain hitting the sidewalk behind her, eyes locked on mine like she wasn't sure if I'd stop the car or keep driving. I stopped. We didn't hug. She didn't cry. We didn't do that dramatic movie thing where everything spills out in the first 5 minutes. We just existed in the same space for the first time in over 20 years. I drove us back to my place in silence. She looked out the window the whole time, like she was afraid that if she looked at me too long, I'd vanish again. When we got inside, I offered her tea. She asked for water instead. I handed it to her, and she held the glass like it weighed 100 pounds. Finally, she spoke. "You're different." I said nothing. "Not in a bad way," she added. "You just feel heavier." I didn't laugh, but I wanted to. Of course I felt heavier. When you carry the weight of being unwanted for 25 years, it presses down, reshapes you, makes you someone no one else quite recognizes anymore. I asked her why she really came. She said she wanted to be sure. Sure of what? I asked. That I didn't dream you up. That you're not some childhood memory I twisted into something better than it was. That surprised me, because all my memories of her were worse than they probably deserved to be. I'd spent so long surviving the pain of her absence. I'd forgotten there were good pieces too. Like how she used to hide candy under my pillow after the foster care worker said sugar made me aggressive. Or how she used to cover for me when I'd sneak out of bed just to sit on the stairs and listen to grown-ups laugh on the other side of the door. She remembered those things too. I tried to bury them, she said, but they kept coming back, especially lately. She pulled out a small photo from her wallet. It was old, faded. Me and her in a park. I was maybe 8. She was 5. I had my arm around her. We were smiling like the world hadn't broken us yet. She slid it across the table. "You were always the strong one," she said. I just forgot. I looked at the photo for a long time. Then I picked it up and slid it into a drawer. Not because I didn't want it, but because I wasn't ready to hold it. We talked for a few hours. About nothing. About everything. About how she left. About how I stayed. About what family means when it's been weaponized against you. And when it got late, I told her she could stay the night on the couch. She smiled and nodded. Before I went to bed, she said one last thing. "Even if you never forgive me, I'm still glad I came." And for the first time in years, I believed her. I didn't sleep much that night. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the rain fade and the silence settle in. The kind of silence that doesn't soothe you, it confronts you, makes you sit with everything you've been running from. I thought about how I'd built my life on stability, on control, on not letting anyone close enough to hurt me again. And for the most part, it worked. My walls were high, my routines were tight, and my circle was small but solid. But then she showed up with that photo, that voice, that version of our past I'd buried under years of survival instinct. And now I was sitting there wondering if I'd been protecting myself or just keeping myself alone. By morning, the house was still quiet. I made coffee. She was still asleep on the couch, curled up in my old Seahawks blanket like it belonged to her. I stood in the kitchen staring at her, and I made a decision, not to forgive, not yet, but to try. When she woke up, she looked unsure, like she was bracing for me to ask her to leave. Instead, I offered her breakfast. She smiled like it hurt to accept it. We sat at the table, just two adults with too much history and too many silences between them. She told me she was thinking of starting over, really starting over. That Portland was just a place to land, not somewhere she wanted to stay. She wanted to study counseling. Said maybe helping other kids figure out who they are might help her figure herself out too. I asked her if she had anyone to lean on. She shook her head, so I gave her something small. You can crash here until you figure it out. A month, 2 tops, but no lies. Not again. She agreed immediately. Not with gratitude, not with tears, just with a nod, like she knew what this meant. It wasn't a reunion. It was a test. And not for her, for me. Because trust isn't something you hand out after 2 conversations and 1 night on the couch. It's something that grows quietly, slowly, under the weight of every "I'm still here" that follows. She stayed. For days, then weeks. She got a part-time job at a bookstore down the block. She made dinner once a week. She never pushed, never asked for more than what I offered. And I started to let my guard down. A little. Enough to remember that once, a long time ago, she had been the only person who made me feel like I wasn't invisible. And maybe, just maybe, she could be that person again. It came in a plain envelope. No return address. No markings. Just my name in shaky handwriting that I recognized immediately. My mother's. Even after all these years, her letters looked like she was writing with a bruise on her hand. Soft, careful, like the paper might shatter if she pressed too hard. I sat with it for a day. Didn't open it. Didn't even touch it. Just left it on the counter like some relic of the past that had no place in my present. Emma saw it. She didn't say anything. She just placed a mug of tea next to it like she understood. This wasn't something you forced. The next night, I opened it. Not because I wanted to, because I needed to finish something. The letter was 5 pages, written in blue ink, the kind of ink that fades quickly as if it knows it doesn't deserve to last. She said she was sorry, repeated it more than once, that she didn't know what they were doing, that they thought they were chasing joy and didn't realize they had abandoned a child to do it. She said they watched my life from afar, that every time she saw a tech article with my name on it, her chest tightened, that every time she didn't reach out, she told herself she was protecting me from her guilt, from her failures, from the story of who she became. She said she envied Emma. That Emma had the courage to face me when she never could. And then she wrote something I didn't expect. I know we don't deserve anything from you. Not your forgiveness. Not even your time. But if I die and you never hear anything else from me, I need you to know your absence has been the punishment I never escaped. That line stayed with me. Because for the first time, she didn't center herself in the narrative. For once, she acknowledged that the space between us wasn't just sad, it was deserved. I didn't cry. I didn't write back. I just folded the letter and put it in the same drawer where I'd placed a photo Emma gave me. Maybe someday I'll open that drawer again. Maybe not. But here's what I do know now. Family isn't just the people who share your face, your blood, or your last name. It's the people who show up, who take the silence and the damage and the history and still stay. My parents left. My sister stayed. So I stayed too. And for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't alone in that.